Hello everyone. As a part of deep learning course project, we are presenting our work interpreting deep learning models. We went through a survey paper on different models on explainability like deconvolution and several heat mapping techniques. Here we are going to discuss one such heat mapping technique called layer-wise relevance propagation and its theoretical justification using deep Taylor decomposition framework. Mostly we are going to discuss about deep Taylor decomposition framework. People in this field use the terms interpretability and explainability interchangeably. Now, the motivations and the applications of interpretability, as we all know, are many in medicine, legislation, self-driving cars, etc. Before we get into the details of empirical comparisons, results, and other details, let's go through the algorithm that the LRP is based on, called the Deep Taylor Decomposition Framework, which is discussed in the following paper. The paper is titled Explaining Nonlinear Classification Decisions with Deep Taylor Decomposition. Now here our goal is interpreting multi-layer neural networks by decomposing the network classification decision into contributions of the input elements. Focus in this paper is mostly on image classification, but this technique can be extended to linear regression and other class of problems. Now, the basis of deep Taylor decomposition, let's call it DTD from now on, is backpropagating explanations from output layer onto the input layer. There are several other ideas that are explored under the umbrella of interpretability by Zeeler, for example. They proposed the idea of trying to understand the patterns in the input data linked to the particular neuron activation or particular decision. And the other works also have been done on pixel-wise decomposition of the classification decision, meaning how much decomposition can be achieved by Taylor decomposition or relevance propagation algorithm. Now there are two approaches to this framework. One approach is functional approach, which is we consider the entire neural network as a single function, and we disregard the topology details, meaning we will disregard how the constituent parts of the network are related and stuff. The second way of looking at it, the second approach to this is message passing approach, which is decomposition stems from a single propagation rule, and it is applied uniformly to all the neurons of the deep neural network. Here, the goal of this paper is to make these both approaches consistent to each other. So, for obtaining decomposition similar to error backpropagation algorithm, which is also based on both these approaches. Now, this framework we call it as Deep Taylor Decomposition Framework. Now, DTD is also based on fundamentally another idea called Taylor decomposition, which is analytically intractable, but DTD is tractable because the decomposition is done one per neuron. We will see the details of both Taylor decomposition and DTD very soon. Now, as you can see in this figure, now the neural network is trained to identify the 0 while there is a distracting digit 5. If the classification score is 1, it means that the target digit is available, and if it is 0, then the target digit is absent. Now, in such a simple let's say in such a simple network where these are the input pixels and this is our output classification score, now the proposed idea is to give a relevance score to this final output pixel, which will propagate back to the input pixels in appropriate proportions, of course. Now, for example, relevance score for this particular pixel, which is coming from which is representing the 5 in the input image, has very little relevance score, while 0 has the pixels that are relevant to 0 in the image have very high pixels. So this is a very naive idea of how this works. Now this redistribution technique of redistribution of relevance, this technique is very similar or yields rules similar to the alpha beta rule, which is alpha beta rule and epsilon rule that are proposed by the guided backprop paper by Hinton. But the advantage of this framework is that the instantiations are specific and not heuristic, while the alpha beta rule comes up with heuristic values. So they for different networks they are having to choose different alpha beta rules. So for GoogleNet they had to choose different alpha beta rule, for CafeNet they had to choose a different alpha beta rule, that way. Now relevance is propagated from the output. In case, suppose if there are multiple layers, then the relevance is propagated. The relevance is propagated from the output to the middle hidden neurons to and so on to the input neurons, input pixels. Now let's get to a quick review of the other related work in this area. So different people came up with different definitions of interpretation, also different ways of explaining justifying the network. Some people measured the noise in the network. Some people try to measure the relevant dimensionality of the feature spaces, and some people did something very similar to perturbation analysis, where they saw the invariance of certain transformations of the data. Like for example, in this network, if I were to do perturbation analysis, I would probably make this part of the image dark and see how the function value is changing, or make this part dark and how the function value is changing. In this case the function value wouldn't change, would change a lot, but in this case the function value probably wouldn't change much. So that's one of the examples of perturbation analysis. Then here, but what we are trying to do is to interpretation of the prediction of individual data points, for which portions of trained model may be either relevant or not relevant in this paper's case. So another work is called sensitivity analysis, where they computed the gradient of the function. That is, the function simply find out how each of these pixels variation of each of the pixels in the image will affect the f of x. So, but the problem with that is the salient information is lost. For example, we're using a figure. If we were to see sensitivity analysis, or in this figure it's more relevant. If I find out the function with respect to this image, differentiation of this function with respect to this image, all I'm asking is how much should I vary each of these pixels so that my function value will be maximized. For this question, the answer would be, even if I vary the road pixels by a little bit, it might look like a tire, which will be the salient feature for classifying it as a scooter. Therefore the relevance value is significant even for the road. But in an ideal case scenario, I want the road pixels to be 0 and only the tire pixels to be as high as possible, or whatever salient features of the scooter pixels to be as high as possible. So sensitivity analysis fails to give importance to relevant features. So we will cover this in more detail very soon. Now after sensitivity analysis, another paper came up saying defining something called saliency info, where they said the gradient has to be multiplied with the actual data point. So I don't really understand the significance of this in particular, because let's say our f of x is some 2x square plus uh, 2x, let's say, and our differentiation will be 4x plus 2. Here, what is this trying to say is, for every change in x, how much is the change in the magnitude, how much change is happening in the magnitude. Now, for example, this let's say this parabola. Now so this parabola is changing in a certain way, so this differentiation will tell us the magnitude of sensitivity of x, magnitude of sensitivity of the function with respect to x. Now, but what will x into df by dx tell is something, the significance of this is not fully clear yet. This is something that has to be yet to be explored. And after this work, some people came up with the idea that there has to be a propagation rule that obeys conservation property. Now, first of all, why are we even why are we even looking for a propagation rule when there is a neural network with several layers, and each layer the function is quite defined, let's say ReLU, and the weights are defined, and the bias is, all the parameters are basically defined. Then why can't we use the same function to go back and give the relevant scores for the input pixels? The answer here is that this ReLU is not bijective. So because it's not bijective, I can't use the same function to go back. So I need another propagation rule. So this probably this emergence of this whole area, or the whole need to come up with good propagation rules which will explain the network functionality better, is because this activation function is not bijective. So however, this choice of propagation rule was mainly heuristic and lacked strong theoretical justification. So Taylor decomposition was a mathematical model which came up with strong theoretical foundation for finding a good propagation rule. And this paper extends Taylor decomposition to deep neural networks. We will see in detail about Taylor decomposition and how DTD works on deep neural networks. Now I'll introduce you to some of the notations which will be used in the rest of the paper. So now our goal is to redistribute the function value onto the input variables in some proportion with respect to it should depend on the contributions of each of the variables. Now we have a function that maps the r dimensional space, the image that belongs to the r dimensional space, to a real value. Now our image x belongs to this r dimension space, and image x can also be represented as set of pixels. Here we will see a lot of places where it is represented as set of pixels, like here for example. Then f of x is equal to 0 or 1 indicates the presence and absence of the object. So it can also indicate presence and absence of several objects, in which case f of x will be a vector instead of a scalar value. Then it can also indicate probability or number of occurrences of objects or anything of that sort. Now goal is to associate every pixel to a relevance score. Every pixel will get a relevance score. That this has to explain the f of x, that is the classification decision has to be explained, it has to be rightly explained by this. The association should be such that this is explained very well. Now r of x, this is another notation. Here r of x is basically set of all the relevance scores of each of the pixels. This itself is one other image. Usually this is called the heat map. So the other thing is these propagation rules are said to follow certain properties. One such property is the conservation property, which means the output value, function value, should be the sum. It should be equal to the sum of all the relevances of the input pixel. And the definition 2 is it's called positivity. Each of the relevance pixels has to be either positive or 0. It cannot be negative. Meaning if f of x is equal to 0, then you cannot have an image with some of the pixels having positive relevances and some pixels having negative relevances. Either it has to be relevant to the decision, it should affect the decision, or it should not affect the decision. Classification decision. So some of the questions that that arises is, there was this experiment on a panda image. When the neural network was shown the panda image, it gave very high value to panda, but when 2 pixels of the panda image were flipped and shown to the network, it recognized it as a gibbon. So in such a case, if we are using any propagation rule that follows both these definitions, and if the panda's relevance was back propagated, then if gibbon's relevance was back propagated, let's say, which had 0.8, then these 2 pixels of the image which were flipped should have very very high relevance, and the rest of the pixels should have 0. And if panda's relevance was back propagated, then all other relevance should have very very little relevance, and all other pixels should have very little relevance, and these 2 pixels should have relevance of 0. So this is the expectation of how a propagation rule should function. This can be one of our to check this can be one of our future works to check if this applies. And also in examples like this car, for example, this can be this particular image can be detected as a boat. The boat might have a very high value because of the sky and the water. Aeroplane can have a little less value because of a huge piece of sky and again water maybe, and car might have a very low value. If I back propagate the score of boat, then the sky and the water is expected to be having very high relevance scores, and the car is expected to have very little relevance score. And if aeroplane is back propagated, then sky will probably be very high. And if car is back propagated, then all of this will be 0 and car will have very little value. So that's an expectation. Now these rules, so if I, after coming up with these 2 definitions, we can always come up with relevant we can always come up with propagation rules like this. For example, r of x is equal to 1 by df of x, like where d is the number of pixels in my in the image. Each of the pixel will get same proportion. This follows both definition 1 and 2. And this relevance being first, for the first pixel give the full score, and for the rest of the pixels give 0 score. This also follows both the definitions, but these are not meaningful. So therefore we need a mathematical model to come up with a particular algorithm or a technique which has more meaning and which has more meaning. Now, why Taylor decomposition? Taylor decomposition is used when f of x is not when f of x is not tractable, Taylor expansion can be this f of x can be represented as f of x plus x dash, as x plus delta x. This x dash is basically f of x plus delta x. It can be expressed in terms of f of x plus delta x and the first order terms of the dou f by dou x at the x dash, and some higher order terms. This is a very known decomposition. Now, how can I use this, or how the physical relevance of this technique on the image? We will see that. Now, this x dash, again before going there, is called the root point. Why it's called a root point, we will know soon. I want to choose such an x dash where f of x dash is equal to 0, which means I will choose such a image x dash. If I pass it through the network, it has to say there is no object. The relevance map is an empty map for this image. I want such an image. Now, why do I want such an image? We will see here. Now, this is the image. I want to choose such an x dash for which for which f of x dash is equal to 0, which means if I send this to the neural network, it says there is no building. If my neural network is trained to identify the building, absence or presence of the building, this will say there is no building. And another property of x dash should also be that the background should remain as similar as original as possible. Now, if such a root point were chosen, then differentiation dou f by dou x at x dash would give me what is dou f by dou x at x dash actually asking? It's asking in which direction should the values of the pixel contributions change to maximize my f of x. So obviously the blurred building, if you change the values of the blurred building a little bit, then the f of x will change. If you change the background pixels also, it will change. So you will have some relevance for background also, but you will have relatively more relevance for the building. So dou f by dou x at x dash is giving me that image. To make it more clearer, now what is x minus x dash giving me? X minus x dash is giving me just the building pixels, and all the background it becomes 0 because background is same. The root point is chosen such a way that the background remains as is. Now, product of these two will give me a very good heat map. That's the Taylor decomposition proposal. Now, this is mathematically in any way this is proven. F of x can be expressed as this. But now there are some questions, like this gradient image itself is able to selectively show the building. Then why even multiplying? Why do you even need x minus x dash in the first place? Why can't we just simply project this as a heat map? If we project this as a heat map, the sensitivity information, basically this also gives some relevance score to the background pixels and some relevance score to the building, extra relevance to the building. So but ideally we want only the building to have highest relevance and rest the background to have 0 relevance. Now again, x minus x dash also can be projected as the heat map. What is the disadvantage of doing that? The disadvantage is we don't know how much how much is the building relevant. We don't know the amount of relevance of the building, so which is produced by the gradient. So we'll use the x minus x dash to eliminate the background, and to find out how much relevance this building has, we will use the gradient picture, and if we element wise multiply that, we get the r of x. Now so this is the physical significance of Taylor decomposition. Having seen this, if we see here, so f of x dash plus this is the Taylor expansion, and this dou f by dou x at x is equal to x dash is another image, which is an n cross 1 image. Its transpose will be a 1 cross n, and x minus x dash is a n cross 1. So if we do the dot product of this, we will get a scalar value. Now if we were to represent this in this form, where each of the pixels are multiplied separately, then we get a vector here, and sum of all of those pixels, and that is vector of relevance scores. Each of this is a rp of x. Sum of all of them will be the r of x, because we earlier defined, r of x, sum of all of the relevant scores will be summed over p. Now according to the conservation property, this has to be equal to f of x, but there are some higher order terms which will cause a problem. So that's one of the reasons why Taylor decomposition is not conservative, but it's positive. And the reason it's positive is because the direction of the dou f by dou x and x minus x dash, x, and this is my x dash, which is x plus delta x, x minus direction of x minus this minus x dash is dou of x, and the direction is this. So the direction of x minus x dash and dou f by dou x are same. So if we multiply two vectors in the pointing in the same direction, then they will be positive. So it follows the definition 2 of positivity, but it's not conserved. For a given classifier, TD has one free variable x dash, so at which the Taylor expansion is performed. Now we have to see what a good root point, what are the properties or characteristics of a good root point. A good root point has to selectively remove the object that I am interested in, keep the background as is, and and the third thing is it has to be as close as possible to my original image. Only then I can apply Taylor expansion on f of x. So these three characteristics have good root point should have all these three characteristics. Now it has to be as close as possible to x by some distance metric. Now there are so assuming that there is this image called eta, which is infinitesimally close to x, and by let's say some delta distance, some very little delta distance, then we have to minimize the distance between eta and x, while the chosen eta, f of eta, has to be 0, because again the root point, f of the root point, function of the root point should be 0, and the eta has to belong to the same input domain. So solving such a problem is a very hard problem in the first place. It's an optimization problem which is very hard. So we have two variants of Taylor decomposition now. There is sensitivity analysis. In sensitivity analysis, they propose that r of x is proportional to square of the dou f by dou x, element wise multiplication here. Now how is that? Now if we choose such a eta which is very close to our x, then infinitesimally small distance from the actual point, then we can so we will expand the f of x in terms of f of eta, and we will see the another thing they assume here is that the function is locally linear, which means if there are two very close points, then their gradient will be same, pointed in the same direction. So dou f by dou x at any of those two close points is same. So here they make this and this same, and x minus this x dash will be the delta of dou f by dou x, and we can very clearly see that f of x is equal to this one, and because of the delta being too small, we have all the HOT terms become 0. But here f of x is mostly consumed by f of eta itself, so very little value is taken by the first order term. Now what does this mean is, like shown in that figure, the entire image will have some relevance, and the building will have some extra relevance. So here only the relative values of the relevance makes meaning, I mean is meaningful. So and that's one inference, and the second inference is that it's locally explaining, it only expects the it measures only the local effect. Again, going back to that picture, of sensitivity analysis, it's asking the same question to everyone on it. When it's asking this question to this road pixel, it only sees, independent of everything, how much should I change this road pixel to make to maximize the f of x. So it's very locally effective, it's not giving the global picture. That's the second inference of the sensitivity analysis. Now comes the deep Taylor decomposition. What deep Taylor decomposition does over the Taylor is, Taylor decomposition assumes one function from the input to the output. So the finding the root point for the input pixels is very hard, while Taylor decomposition just assumes one function between input to output pixels, while the deep Taylor decomposition assumes sub functions, like it assumes a function mapping between every layer. So if this is the input pixel, this is the ith layer, this is the jth layer, then there is a function mapping from there is a sub function mapping from between every layer to layer. So we are going to find out a root point for these set of pixels. These are not pixels, basically these are neurons, these set of neurons. This is also a vector. If not in the 784 dimensions in the case of MNIST, this will be much smaller. So trying to find out an xi dash for the input for the second layer or the hidden layer is easier than finding out the root point for the input x, which belongs to the R dimension. So the DTD is defined over between every layers. Now another way of looking at it is, suppose there are in ith layer there are so many of them, in jth layer there are so many neurons. This is Rj of this particular neuron, and this is your set of I neurons. This Rj so this particular neuron gets its relevance. This particular neuron gets its relevance from all of these J neurons. So my relevance is here summed over all the J's for giving relevance to this neuron. So relevance is propagated from layer of neurons to another set of layer of neurons, instead of propagating from output value to input pixels in case of Taylor decomposition. Now we repeat the same story of Taylor decomposition here again, but from between neurons to neurons, between set of neurons to set of neurons, sorry. So here if we try to understand this thing, we have for every Rj, that is for every Rj, we have to find out a root point for the ith layer, for the set of neurons in the ith layer. For every Rj there is a different set, of root point. So that's one other takeaway. So for every I, we sum the relevances that it is getting from all the neurons in the jth layer, and to find out the sum of all the relevances in the ith layer, we have to sum over all the I neurons. And if deep Taylor decomposition follows the conservation law, definition 1, then it is layer wise relevance is conserved, which is sum of relevances of every layer is equal to every other layer and the output layer and the input layer. And if it follows the definition 2, then if this kind of decomposition follows definition 2, then each of these relevance scores are positive or greater than or equal to 0. So there is an if here. So we will come up with propagation rules that will prove that deep Taylor decomposition using those rules will follow definition 1 and definition 2. We'll see that later. Now let's see application of DTD on a single layer network. Now in a single layer network, let's say xj is equal to this maximum of, we have applied ReLU activation function, and this is a fundamental definition of the how the neuron gets its value. Then in a single layer, in a single output layer, so we have a single layer here and one layer neural network, and we have this output neuron and we have this input neurons. This is the detection layer where we are applying that formula max of whatever. Then there is we are applying sum pooling in the second part. Sum pooling is simply xk is equal to, that's how we are defining this neural network. Xk is equal to sum of all of these values of the neurons. Now how will I propagate RJ in this kind of a network? We also they also said the BJ has to be kept, BJ is kept negative, made sure that it is negative because it guarantees the existence of a root point. How is that guaranteeing the existence of root point is something that I still don't understand. The second thing that I don't understand, so we have to check this out. Then we now so assuming there is a function, now assume there is a other things to be familiar with is xi, set of xi's are our input dimension. Here set of xi's are our input dimension, that is, let me write here, are our input dimensions, and set of xj's are our detection layers, and theta, wij and bj are parameters of the network, and there is a function that is mapping xi to xk. There's only single layer, so there's just one function that's mapping this to this one. Among the let's say that function is g, then that g belongs to all possible functions represented by one neural network, single layer neural network. And why does that bias guarantee? We have yet to see that. And TD to apply Taylor decomposition, we need a root point. Now RK is xk, so the f of x here is the xk, and f of x is nothing but the relevance at the output. So relevance at the output is always the value that the output contains. So f of x is equal to RK is equal to xk, and we have defined xk as sum of xj's, so RK is sum of xj's. Now using deep Taylor, we are doing the same thing here. In the rest of the paper they use RK or RJ or whatever, and as a function, interchangeably as a function, and also as the relevance for the jth neuron. So we have to be a little careful when they are saying when they are meaning what. And after applying D Taylor, this is a this differentiation of RJ, dou RK by dou XJ is nothing but dou sum of XJs, because from here, and dou sum of XJs by dou XJ is 1. So this is 1, and root point of and how do you find the root point? The root point can be found by solving the plane equation sum of xj's over j is equal to 0. So I need a root point xj dash such that I need a root point xj dash such that f of xj dash is 0. How do I get this? When if I solve the plane equation, then I will get several roots. I mean several solutions. Each of the solution is a root. That's why that xj dash is called the root point. And I want to choose such a root point which is closest to my original image. In this particular example of a single layer network, if I and also I have a additional constraint of keeping the xj's positive. So solving this equation and to make sure that xj is positive, the only solution is the 0 vector. So this is my only solution. So x minus xj dash is xj. So my rj remains to be xj. Now in other words, here the relevance must be distributed on the neurons of the detection layer in same proportion as their actual value, because xj is the actual value, the relevance is also the actual value. So this layer is getting relevances same as its actual value. And now we have to go back one step. Now from this layer to the input pixels, we will repeat the same thing. And rj here is sum of, earlier that rk was sum pooling operation, here rj is the ReLU operation, and the mapping is established between the input pixels and the rj. For every rj we'll have to find out one root point, and if we substitute in the Taylor decomposition formula, we get this, and thus we have, and this is how for a multi-layered network also we keep back propagating the values that we get in the higher layers to the lower layers. Now the question is how to choose a good root point. Also we one more point is we have to, since for every rj we will have to find a root point, for every rj we have to perform Taylor decomposition as many times as there are neurons in the hidden layer. Now coming to methods to find the root point. Now depending on the input domain and the method to find the root point, different propagation rules we can come up with different propagation rules by defining the input space and the way we are going to find out the root point. We will see this in more detail. Now let's see about one of the rules called W square rules. Now this is one rule to find out the root. So a very good excellent root point is the contention for the Taylor decomposition to perform excellently. Now in an input space where x is in a d-dimensional real valued space, is a d-dimensional real number, the input space, we can always choose the point that is nearest to the nearest to the original image in the Euclidean sense. The actual point is my xi. So how do I choose this xi for every j? That is why the superscript. So let's for now ignore this. How do I find the root point that is close to xi? When rj is greater than 0. Because when rj is equal to 0, it means that all the xi's are relevances of xi's are 0. So which means that the point itself is the root point. The image itself is the root point. So the nearest root point basically can be found by what do I mean by nearest root point? Suppose if this is my input image, I want to find out some xi dash somewhere. So from input image I go in some direction in t units and find out my xi dash. Now incidentally this xi dash is the root, is the is a solution to the plane equation xi wij plus bj on all i's. This is my, so this is also, this vector is also a root of the solution to this plane equation. So if I solve this line and the plane, then I'll be in the intersecting point of this line and plane will give me the root point. These rules are explained with proofs in the supplementary material, so we'll try to understand them from the supplementary material. So if I solve this and this equation, this line equation and this plane equation, I'll come up with something with vi. So all I have to do is to come up with my direction. In which direction should I search from xi so that I'll hit the plane, and the distance also, and I should choose such a direction where I can quickly reach the plane. This is a physical significance. Now we'll come up with some intuitive answers on what could the direction be, and then we will come up with other possibilities. Now, if my image belongs to the R dimension space, then Rj is defined as maximum of whatever. Then the line equation that that we came up with is xi dash is xi plus t into that new direction vi. There are two possibilities. Class 1 is when Rj is equal to 0. When Rj equals to 0, then relevance map is 0, all the xi's are 0, so that image itself is a root point, as I just mentioned. So xi minus xi dash will be 0. In class 2, where Rj is greater than 0, then I'll have to find out for there are several possibilities of root images, root points, root data points, and I have to find the closest one. Now how do I find the so if we solve the plane equation and the line equation, we will get xi minus x dash in the form of this. So now all we need to do is to find out a vi, in which direction we will go to find out this root point. Now to find out the direction, these three steps can be used as our torch, whatever. So when define for each neuron j in class 2 a line or a segment in the input space starting from the data point and with the direction this, from that data point in this particular direction, I'll have to find a line segment. Then verify if that line segment lies inside that input domain, and it should at least include one root of Rj. Now inject that search direction Vij into this equation, and we are done. If we can put this in Vij, then we find out our Ra. What I mean by, so in this case, these plane equations are like basically hyperplanes, but in higher dimensions we can see them linearly. Now if from this diagram, this is our plane equation, and this side of the plane equation all have positive, I mean if you substitute the points in this space in that plane equation, you get from positive value. In this space, if you substitute them, you get negative value. But because of ReLU, this doesn't matter, they all get 0. So if our image is here, then we have to find out our root point, and this line has infinite points, all of them are roots. We have to find out which point is closest to Ra. One of the naive solutions is to draw a perpendicular foot of perpendicular to the plane from this point, and that is the nearest distance. So and once you draw the foot of perpendicular, we have 2 points. Our line segment is set. Once our line segment is set, we have a direction. Once vi is there, we will substitute in that equation 7 and get our Ra. But that is the W square rule. So if you see in all of these cases, this perpendicular direction is also nothing but the gradient of this function. The gradient of this function is also the same direction. So I'll come back here. If we substitute, so the gradient of the function is wij. If we substitute wij as our vi, then we get Ri as this, and that is why this is called the W square rule, because we have in the numerator wij. It is proportional to our weight, proportional to the weight vector. Now once we have vi, then we will get t, because by solving this we'll get the t, then we will get Ra. So if we can see here, the wij is always is in the perpendicular direction. Wi square is in the perpendicular direction to the plane equation everywhere in all the examples. Now this is obviously the shortest distance. Then why have we come up with z and z plus rule and z beta rule? That's because sometimes, for example, in this case, Wi square rule doesn't fall. I mean, the line segment will fall out of the input space. It's outside the input space. So W square cannot be W square rule cannot be used here. So that is why we came up with another rule called Z plus rule. Now what does this Z plus rule say? Zero vector is anyway the root, because it's all zero. F of zero vector, for example, how do I represent? F of zero vector is 0 anyway. So another trick to another pattern about these rules, another pattern that is observed about these rules are, another pattern that is observed about these rules are, I have to find out a point on this side of the plane. So if I can find a point in the input space for which rj of that vector is equal to negative instead of 0, then that point or that vector will fall on this side of the plane. Once I have a point on this side of the plane, then I can determine a vector line segment joining xi and that side of the plane, and definitely that line will intersect the input plane at some place. So that can be my root point. Now the challenge is to find out such a point on the other side of the plane which will give me the root point that is as close as possible to the data point. W square rule is obviously the best, but the perpendicular distance is obviously the best, but sometimes it might fall out of the input domain. So Z rule says, why not draw a line from 0 vector to xi? That will definitely give you a root point. And once the line segment is formed, we have a direction, then we get this. Z plus rule says, we have to so Z plus rule is also trying to find out a point on this side of the plane for which f of x will be negative. So that vector or that point chosen is xi into xi is our input neurons. If it's an input pixel, then if it's input pixels, it can have all kind of real numbers. If xi I'm talking about is some hidden layer, then it will have only positive numbers because of the ReLU. Then 1 wij less than 0 meaning is put a 1 wherever the wij, corresponding wij is negative, put a 0 in other places. That way, when I do xi into wij plus bj, I'll get a negative value. Right, because bj is already negative, and this element wise multiplication will be negative. So this way I am setting my negative point. This way I am setting a point which will give me, if I put in the rj's function, will give me a will lead to a negative value. That means that will be a point in this other side of the plane. So I can put a line segment from this point to xi and then find out the direction once I have the line. So that is z plus rule. So z plus rule is to find, so finding is drawing a line segment from this point to this point. Same thing, we will get this, we will get Ra as this one, where our zij's are this. Next is z beta rule. Z beta rule is also an attempt to find out such a point where the function will give me a negative value. So they have defined that they have defined li in the beginning of the paper. They will say that li is our negative lower bound, and which is always less than 0, and our hi is a upper bound which is always greater than 0. So by doing li 1 wij, where this will give me a negative value, negative vector, this will give me a negative vector, again this will give me a point. By negative vector I mean a vector with a vector if substituted in a point, if substituted in the plane, will give me a negative value. Again a line segment will be drawn from that point to xi, and then we'll find out the direction. Why will this be negative? Li vector will have ones wherever there are positive. Li vector is already a value that is negative, some negative number, let's say minus a, and this 1 wij is basically a vector with ones wherever the weights are negative and then otherwise 0, which will give me this kind of a vector. This plus another vector with negative elements in it. Hi is always positive, but this 1 wij less than 0 will have ones wherever weights are negative. So this will give me another vector with negative weights, negative elements in it. So sum will again be a vector with negative elements in it. So if we apply the same formula here, we will get some negative score, which will lie on this side of the plane. Now once that is done, so these are three different rules of finding propagation route, finding the root, and we have a method to find out the root, and input space is constrained in case of z beta, in case of z plus rule, as r plus, I mean only positive input domain, and in case of z beta rule, the input space is constrained to a region called beta, where beta is defined as something that's lying between that minus L and L and H, where here our L and H's are minus 1 and 1 in these examples. So this section is just telling how to implement these in using NumPy arrays and element wise multiplications and stuff. This section tells each of these rules follow definition 1. There are proofs for definition 1 and definition 2. They are quite straightforward, that they all the three rules are consistent. They follow both definition 1 and definition 2. This is for W square rule, and this is for Z plus rule, and this is for Z beta rule. We will come back to empirical comparison with LRP. So once we are done, we are done with all of the other. There are also other inferences where Z beta rule, the weightage on the input pixels is very less. So they, in case of Z beta rule, sometimes they are considered constant and found out. So there are some advantages of using Z beta rule. The relevance can be found very easily. And they performed experiments on MNIST data, where they trained the MNIST data to identify with a score of 100 if there is a target digit 0 to 3, and while there is a distracting digit 4 to 9. If there is no target digit, then it is trained to give an answer of 0. So to such a network, they applied they applied the DTD rule, and they figured these. They came up with these explanations where they experimented for sensitivity analysis for Taylor, deep Taylor, and with ZW square and with Z beta rule. Now, if we see the plot against the relevance score for the final output versus the sum of the relevance scores of the image, if they are all falling on a straight line, obviously they means they are conserved. The definition to 1 is followed. In case of deep Taylor and Z beta, we can clearly see it's conserved, but in case of Taylor, it's not. Definition 2 says they have to be positive. So in case of sensitivity analysis, we see that they are all positive, but the relevance is spread across to all of the pixels, like we saw in the example. But in case of deep Z beta rule, for example, the relevance is constituted within the most important features of the image. Now, very important part is here, all the while we have been assuming that there is a function mapping between the input and the input pixels and the output layer, while in reality, deep networks, we do not know what the mapping is, although it might exist. So they have come up with a trainable relevance model where they are claiming that the yj here is not only dependent on what the input pixel it's getting, but also the relevance from the higher layer. So they trained it using, by defining yi is maximum of this one, where aj gives the relevance or defines the relevance from the higher layers, and it always carries minimum of this or this, which means if there is no relevance from the higher layer, then it gives it a 0 value. It inhibits the yj to take a higher value when there is no relevance from the higher layer. But there are questions here around how are they finding out the ground truth RK. That is not very clear here. So that is another open question of this thing. And they applied it to a 1-layer network and got these. They also showed experiments using this model, min-max relevance model, and training free. So obviously, while training the deep neural network itself is very hard, we don't want to train another relevance model. So we assume that there is a function that maps between every layer by this formula, and at xk we LP norm, like if t is 0, then it's max pooling. We are taking only the neurons which have positive values. If p is L0 norm, then if p is 1, then we are doing, that is same as sum pooling. So it were different LP norms will represent a variety of pooling operations. So for a function mapping from input to output, we are using these values, and we are also using one propagation rule to come back. We are defining that propagation rule. The same rule will be applied to all the neurons. all the set of neurons in the deep neural network, and thus trying to explain the image explanation. Sorry. So they made they made experiments on using on the ImageNet using Deep Taylor Min-Max, which is a trainable relevance model and a training free model. Clearly this is way more conservative than relevance model. These are other results where for GoogleNet and CafeNet, Deep Taylor works gives way more clear sensitivity maps than sensitivity analysis. Another interesting thing is the another interesting proof that Deep Taylor works better is even when the image is zoomed, the relevance is the relevance per pixel is way more accurate as expected, because if I want to detect a volcano, I would ideally want to look at this and detect. So the network is looking the explanation at least is very justifiable using a Deep Taylor decomposition. And in conclusion, using the Deep Taylor, LRP is derived out of Deep Taylor. So they have done comparisons on LRP and LRP versus Deep Taylor. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages. Just that LRP different parameters must be initialized every time. But both of them have pretty much the same advantages. Sometimes the Deep Taylor is way gives more sensitive maps. Now let's see our results, our experiments and results. This is the Deep Taylor's analyzed image on this kind of for this input, and on this image we have compared the performance of Deep Taylor with all the popular models, Deep Taylor and Gradient. This is a sensitivity analysis where the R of x is proportional to the square of this gradient, and we can see that not only the bat and ball but rest of the other areas are also having some relevance. And guided backprop is a paper, very old paper even. So they also came up with alpha beta rules and epsilon rules and tried to follow the conservation property and stuff. They also have decent results. And we tried applying Deep Taylor on segmentation network UNet, and we saw that every pixel is relevant in decision making. So one future proposal work is Deep Taylor is trying to explain RD to R plus, but what's happening in a segmentation network is RD to RD. If we can, so instead for every pixel there are a bunch of pixels here which are deciding if that pixel has to be black or white. I mean, in a segmentation network, I want all of this part to be black and this part to be white. So for every pixel in here, there are some bunch of pixels which are deciding if it has to become black or white. So for every pixel I might get an M cross N map, and for M cross N pixels I might get M cross N heat maps. So if I can merge those heat maps which are of these pixels, iris pixels alone, then we might actually be able to solve, we might be able to explain a segmentation network using Deep Taylor algorithms. This is an expectation, and this is a good future work that we can do. On other tasks like Knuckle and so if we can if we can extend this to answer a lot of regression problems or reconstruction problems and super resolution problems, like even in super resolution, if I want to super resolve this image, these features are all super resolved in a certain fashion, and these background images are super resolved in a certain fashion. So we can see relevance of super resolved each pixel, how much of the background is mattering to the decision. That's one thing. And we can also jigsaw puzzles work better with CNNs. When jigsaw puzzle is where the background is completely white, and if I puzzle these pieces of images, CNN works better with a white background, while with rather than a colored or a background with different other textures. So we can try to figure out why that's happening, if we can extend this algorithm to regression problems in a more explainable way. Thank you. Have a nice day.